Donald Sutherland was playing in some entertaining movies like Disclosure and A Drive-Out Season, but this movie from 1995 called Citizen X does not quite hit the mark like some of his other movies. People may label this one as a very good movie, but if you compare it to the one I saw recently called Memories of Murder, which also has a slow start, it just does not compare that well. In that particular movie that I'm talking about, it feels more authentic, you have better characters, you are more interested in the build-up, and there's a lot more tense moments. Perhaps you appreciate that you get to see more of the killer's movements in this one, but nonetheless, although Donald Sutherland still has a credible role here as a Soviet bureaucrat, the movie is not matched by the darker mood it should have had, with the main problem being, of course, that it does not feel anything like the dark, gloomy country that the Soviet Union once was. Yes, they make an environment where they try to deny everything and question the methods bureaucrats played by Stephen Rea are using in the investigation, but visually the movie is weak and where Memories of Murder managed to make this accurate description of how brutal society was in South Korea back in the 80s. This movie fails miserably to create that tough, isolated Soviet environment, like you, for example, see in the movie Tetris, where it feels very much more authentic and you actually believe you are in the Soviet Union. The movie also clearly shows Stephen Rea's limitations as an actor, and it can't make this forensic examiner turned detective really come alive, like Sutherland does as Fatiso. Of course, it would naturally help to have actual Russian actors to play in this movie, but when you work with what you got, you never feel Stephen Rea fits this role. And I actually believe Donald Sutherland could have played his part much better. You just saw how he stood against the British society in the movie called A Drive-Out Season, so of course his limited acting ability does not really help the movie. But the other characters are not that convincing either, and it's a movie that because of that fails to create the right kind of interest. This movie could have, of course, have worked on many things, but the killer character is one they have crafted nicely, and some of the scenes with him are pretty interesting. But when it comes to making excitement in the investigation and such, this movie is on a weak side because it mostly is about commission meetings rather than too much out in the field investigations, which makes movies like this more interesting. Yes, they keep finding bodies, but they are nowhere near finding the actual killer, although they had him jailed the first time at one point. Actually, I feel it would have been interesting to speed the movie up a little bit, to see more of how bureaucrat, when he had all the resources at his disposal, and how he handled that, and less about the demands and quarrels of the backstory before the Soviet split up. Then I actually think the movie could have been better, but for me right now, it's a 5 out of 10, and according to me, much more mid than other people are suggesting it is.